So, Eric, let's start just for everybody watching. If you can tell me a little bit about yourself and your restaurant.
Um, I've been in pizza since I was 18. I started working for Domino's in college and managing for them for a few years. And then when I moved to Tallahassee to go back to school, I saw a location and opened Munchies. That was in June of 2019. We're right next to FSU's campus, and that was our main focus for our customer base the first year that we were open. So.
Nice. And before you guys ever heard of us or started working with us, what kind of marketing were you doing to get customers?
Mostly working a lot with the bars and clubs and apartment complexes. So we were partnered with the two main clubs within a half a mile of us and both the main bars within half a mile of us. And then we did a lot of partnerships with apartment complexes to get like marketing materials and then moving packages and things like that. But that was pretty much it for marketing for the most part.
So a lot of the traditional stuff.
Yeah, a lot of like guerrilla marketing, boots on the ground. We'd go to, I'd drive around to the car dealerships and hand out menus and flyers and stuff.
And that stuff works, but
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
were to compare it to what we're doing now as far as trackability goes, how would you compare that?
yeah. So I'm like you said, trackability. So like that type of marketing. I mean, other than using like specific coupon codes, and even at that point, it's very difficult to trace. So the great thing about what we've done so far is that we can literally trace exactly where everything's coming from. So, um, kind of know what's working, what's not working, and what direction to go with it. So.
That's awesome. And obviously me and you both know the story and stuff, but for those that are going to be watching this video, how have things changed for you since hiring us, and kind of maybe if you could explain to them like where, we first started talking when this pandemic literally just hit.
Before the pandemic started.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you
So
can kind of give
you
them
sent
some
me
insight as to where your mindset was, where you were at.
yeah, so we were looking at coming into summer, which is the slow season for us because we hadn't done any marketing for residential. All of my folks had been on the bars, clubs, student housing. So there was no residential marketing done so far. And I started talking to you, I think in February, right before the pandemic. And we were going to work on, targeting that residential community coming into summer, which is the slow season for us because students are gone. Then obviously the pandemic hit. So I kind of, dropped the communication with you and was looking at, not spending any money on anything. And you offered to help us out and kind of see where it went. So we did that for about a month. And then the deep dish came out, which we released, in April, I think, like early April. So that got all the traction on the foodies page, obviously, and we were a little bit overwhelmed at first. And I still think back to like that Wednesday night. I don't know if you remember, but we released it on Tuesday. Between Tuesday and Wednesday, I think we got like 40 or 50 messages, and I hadn't even really said anything to you about it yet. But you saw the inbox blowing up, and Wednesday night set up the chat bot on Messenger that I guess you'd already been building it to start our program, and you set it up for the deep dish, like overnight. And when I woke up Thursday, we'd already had over 50 people message us, and those leads had been put into the Google spreadsheet that you created. And I keep thinking back, like if that hadn't happened, if you hadn't done that overnight, we'd have been buried from the start and probably had to just like stop serving it for like a week, just to like put the systems in place to be able to handle it. And I don't know that there's any system that we could have created that would have been able to handle it. But I mean, long story short, 4 weeks in, we had almost 1,500 leads through that chatbot that you set up for the deep dish, from the traffic coming in from the foodies page. And that was really before we started running ads for the most part. And then as soon as that slowed down, you started running the ads for it. And we maintained that organic traffic for another 4 weeks after that. And then ever since then, we've just been running these campaigns and building that list. And we're now doing more in sales weekly than we were doing when the students were here, and the students are completely gone right now.
Yeah, and I believe June was your best month ever,
But
correct?
yeah, by far, yeah. There's no. I I had to wait to pay the sales tax for June because the sales tax was so high compared to what I was used to. I didn't really think ahead on that with all the other expenses coming in
Wow,
with
yeah.
COVID. But we'll get there. But
Yeah, from that
that got me off
campaign,
playing.
just to review, total ad impressions was 113,000 people, 3,200, almost 3,300 people engaged with the ad in some kind of way, and you had around 2,560 opt-ins.
And that was the first campaign for when
Yeah,
we
the
first
deep
released
dish
it.
one.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit the nail on the head with what we were talking about. Even though we launched and this all kind of happened in June, it kind of we built up to it by doing some organic type of posts on a foodies page and asking for feedback and getting pretty much your customers involved in the process. I think that's what helped a lot.
Yeah, I think it was kind of the build up to that, and then really the organic traffic from the foodies page. They have what 20,000 members now.
Yeah.
But I was told, like, oh, it's going to die down, it's going to die down. But I think what we were doing on the back end, with one, making sure we were retaining their information, and then two, kind of running. I mean, what were we running on those ads? Like $2-3 a day. But keeping the traffic coming in, kept the post going up on the foodies page, which it was almost like a cycle, and we managed to draw that out to I think 8 or 10 weeks.
One helps the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about ad spend. I don't remember the daily ad spend. I don't have that in front of me, but the acquisition cost is something I do remember. Just stayed ridiculously low. I remember it was 22 cents, I believe, acquisition cost.
Yeah, it was where we started, and that lasted for like a week or two, and even for the next several weeks after that, it was still under I think 80 or 90 cents.
Yeah. Well, the overall average of the campaign was around 22 cents.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was
Wow.
really super impressive. And we still, even with the giveaway campaigns we're doing now, we're still getting around that acquisition cost.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is really cool to see. Awesome, Eric. One more question, just for anybody again that will be watching this video in the future. For any restaurant owner that might be on the fence or is looking for some sort of solution, especially right now through all the crazy stuff that's going on. Any final last parting words that you'd like to share with a fellow restaurant owner?
I mean, I think just the best thing we were able to do was kind of give you the reins and let you, set up your program and create the ads the way you wanted to, and kind of. I know you always ask me for the ad spend, but I kind of just let you run with it. Obviously, I'm not very social media savvy myself, so I didn't really have too much input on the ad spend and the marketing side of it. But letting you run with that, and then I was honestly kind of skeptical about the VIP program at first, because it did take a month or two to get going. But now I think this week is kind of really when we saw it start to come together. So like, technically this week should be the slowest week of the year for us because we're between summer, which is the slowest semester for students, and fall, and then the pandemic on top of that. So there's literally like two cars, and I live in a student complex. There's two cars in the parking lot. And we still did more in sales this week than any week with the students here, with the exception of I think Halloween week, which obviously is an anomaly. And more sales than we did last week when students were still here and moving out. So those VIP offers are really kind of coming full circle now and causing that traffic to come in, which we really kind of saw yesterday on, if you look at like our discounts and our sales. When I got my daily summary, I didn't realize that, but I think the reason yesterday was the busiest day since we reopened was because of the redemptions that we were receiving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thanks for mentioning that because what most restaurants actually get wrong is they spend money on advertising to get sales, as opposed to like what we're doing, where we're spending money to build a database. And once that database is yours, we can continue to remarket to them, as you're kind of mentioning.
But I mean, even the process of building the database still kind of paid for itself in the traffic that it was driving. but I think now we're really seeing kind of the power of it at this point. Um, but yeah.
Absolutely. And we didn't go into too much detail. When we first started talking, there was uncertainty. I still remember there was a point where you were talking about possibly not even surviving. And tell
Yeah,
them
yeah.
what's in the pipeline now for Munchie's Pizza.
So yeah, when you first reached back out to me when the pandemic started, I was like, I don't have any money. Like I can't pay you. I can't do anything. Like I can't spend any money on marketing. And had lost 70% of our sales, and the students left 2 months early. And this was our first year being open, which is already difficult. So obviously that put us on very treacherous territory. And now we should be opening up our second location in the first week of September. So.
That makes me so happy too. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Eric, thanks a lot. Thanks for getting on the call and sharing that with people who will be watching this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.